Hey guys, today we are going to talk about foam rolling to go along with my lacrosse ball video from earlier this week or last week or whenever it was. All the days are kind of blended together a little bit today or this past month. So I really like foam rolling to work on a lot of mobility issues that people have. Let's talk about foam rolling and what it means for a second. So originally foam rolling, the idea, kind of like stretching, was the idea that you were actually stretching or somehow changing the tissue and changing the muscle or the connective tissue or whatever it is that you were foam rolling. So now research shows what we're actually doing is we're creating a stimulus. So we're giving input into our body that's something new and novel. What that does is it sends signals back to our brain that tells our brain to try and relax that tissue. So putting this into context, that means this is why foam rolling your IT band was really popular for a while and then kind of came out of fashion, if you will, because what we see is our IT band is connective tissue. It is not muscular, it does not contract. It's attached to your TFL, your tensor fascia lata, which is a muscle and will contract and relax, but your connective tissue itself will not actually react or contract. So by foam rolling it, all you're really doing is putting a bunch of pressure on a tissue that's not going to respond super well to overstress. And that's because we found out too with many studies is that it takes something dumb like 1,000 pounds of pressure or something to actually deform tissue. Because our bodies are pretty sturdy. If our bodies actually deform to all the different stuff that we did to it as far as, you know, foam rolling or stretching, then every time you carried a sack of groceries, you'd come away from it and all of a sudden your hip would have an indent in it. And that doesn't happen because our bodies are very resilient. They don't actually change that much unless we put some actual stimulus into them. And so our muscles, what they can do is they can contract and they can relax. And so we're going to work on doing some of that, just contracting, relaxing, and helping our brain and our body work together to decrease the tension in some of your tissues. So all we're doing with this foam rolling is we're not actually changing any tissues. We're not making them stretch any further. What we're doing is we're getting your brain, the guy that controls everything anyways, to relax some of the tissue as we provide some stimulus to it. So I'm going to stop stuttering and I'm going to start showing you some of the best ways to foam roll some of the problem areas. So I'm not going to cover everything. I'm going to cover, honestly, my favorite ones because it's my show. So what I'm going to start with is that TFL that I talked about. Our TFL is attached to our IT band. So a lot of runners or a lot of people in general say, hey, you know, my IT band's really tight, my knees hurt, I keep foam rolling my IT band, nothing seems to be happening. And that's because nothing is going to happen. But what we do want to do is we want to try and attack that muscle that's attached to the IT band. This muscle, this TFL, is what's tightening and causing some of that IT band discomfort. So let's go over the cause instead of just the symptom or the effect with that IT band. So we're going to go on that TFL. I tell people with TFL, greatest way to find it is if you look where your pocket is in your pants, that's a good place to start. So foam roll is going to go right in your pocket area. Foam rolling, like we've talked about, is for muscles. It's not for any sort of bony prominence. So you want to make sure you're staying off all your bony prominences that you have, i.e. not coming right onto that hip bone. We're going right below hip bone onto that TFL. So, and what I like to do is basically I just tell people to work back and forth until they find some spots that need some love. This TFL is actually a little bit closer to the front of our pocket. So I want you to actually bring your chest and body forward just a little bit. And I guarantee you will probably find some areas that could use some help. Again, when you find those areas, what you're going to do now is you're going to do some micro back and forth. You can do some holds, some sustained pressure on that area, hanging out and just doing a couple deep breaths. And you can go back and forth this way, turning back and forth. Again, all we're doing is we're figuring out how to give signals back to our brain. Our brain controls our muscles. We got to tell our brain to relax those muscles. The muscles themselves, they have no control over what they're doing. They contract and they relax and that's it. Someone's got to tell them what to do it. And that's why the brain is what we're really targeting here with this foam rolling. So this is a great place to start. From here, you can also come back around and work on some glute action. Oftentimes people are tight here as well. Same thing, finding some spots. I call it search and destroy. Find some spots that are really tight and then work through that. Another good one for people that if their TFL is tight, oftentimes we see some quad tightness too. And so from here, I'll do it on the other side so you can see me. foam rolling quad right through here. You can actually do some knee bending back and forth when you find a spot that's pretty tight, or just some rolling back and forth. Oftentimes, foam rolling, just like stretching, people will do it for about 45 seconds and think, okay, good, I'm good to go. Try and take some time and take a couple of minutes here. Like I said, our brain's trying to get on the action, but sometimes it's a little slow too. I'm a little bit of a slow learner. So the longer you take actually feeding the brain that input, the better chance you're going to have of affecting change. So, all right, so that's quad, that's glute, that's TFL. Those are some of my favorites. Let's work up the body a little bit now. So one of the places I really like utilizing the foam roll is with our thoracic spine. I'm pretty prime unfortunate example of hanging out, and we all do this, and especially since a lot of us are at home in non-office places now, we're hanging out in this position. Our thoracic spine should be able to extend and support us here. So we're going to use that foam roll to help get some of that extension. So now what we're doing is we're moving on from just using some muscle input, and now we're actually going to try and do some spinal input too, because now what I'm doing is I'm having you actually stretch your mid-back up and over the foam roll, helping not only all this connective tissue, but your spine itself to work into this extension position. And you can hang out here, you can roll back and forth. I like to start in one spot and then slowly work my way up a little bit inch by inch and see if I can get a little more extension into each segment. Now you'll notice I have my hands behind my head and I'm protecting my head. What I don't want to see is a bunch of this. We want to keep that cervical spine protected and really focus on curving through thoracic spine instead. Same thing, right through here. All right, one other thing now to work on as an accessory to that is you can also, I'll turn it this way, lay lengthwise on the foam roller too. I love this one. This is a great way to open up that chest after a long day of sitting at your desk at work, sitting on your bike, any of those things. Legitimately, all it is, hanging here, bring arms out. You want a little bit more of a stretch, make them cactus arms like this. And all you want to do is just hang out here, let gravity do its thing, and relax. This is probably the best foam rolling option I give people. You don't have to do much of anything here. Great. All right, I want to give you one more foam roll that I really like. Foam rolling our lats. This huge muscle right all through here that connects actually up to our arm. Again, hanging out in this position all day tends to put it on a little bit of tightness. And most people will find that they actually do have some sensitivity and some tightness all through this area here. And so if you feel tight, if you feel like you're kind of scrunched in this position, try foam rolling all through back area and even rolling up onto your side a little bit. See if you can find some spots that are a little tight, a little sensitive, and work through them all through there. All right, guys, so those are some of my favorite places to foam roll that help with overall mobility. What we do is we attack some of the bigger muscles, some of the bigger areas of the body in order to affect change and affect some more motion in those areas. So TFL, also glute, going up towards our thoracic spine and using it through here to get more of that extension in our spine. You can also line it lengthwise and create some good length that way, some good opening of the chest, and then working on those lats as well too. Plenty other places to foam roll. This thing's great for a lot of different mobility tips. Remember, mobility is only as good as the strength you have to use with it. So mobility, we need to make sure we can have the range to move, but we also need to make sure we have the strength in order to keep that range too. So if you want some tips on some great extra strengthening exercises to add with the mobility, shoot me a message or leave me a message here and we'll work on adding some of that into my next segment. So be well, guys. Keep moving as much as you can and let us know if you have any questions. All right.